In today's news, the government reverses Bangkok's reopening plan. High-ranking police officers arrested over the kidnapping of a Taiwanese man, and teachers in Myanmar go on strike against the illegal military government. Details on these stories coming right up. Sawadee krap, welcome to Thailand News Today, where we give out a warm shout out to our new Thaiger legend, Tony Packard. Now you can be one too by hitting that join button to support the channel. And now on to the news. A massive drop in new infections today, compared to yesterday anyway. 2,230 new COVID-19 cases and 38 coronavirus-related deaths for Tuesday's CCSA report. Out of the new cases, 77 were detected in Thai prisons, a drastic decrease in infections at the correctional facilities compared to the nearly 2,000 reported yesterday. Thousands of inmates at more than a dozen prisons have tested positive for COVID-19 over the past month. Bangkok remains the epicenter in the latest wave, with more than 40,000 infections reported since April the 1st. Most of the infections are concentrated in crowded areas and housing communities. Just as Bangkok was about to reopen some venues and businesses, the order was shot down by the Center for COVID-19 Situation Administration. After businesses went weeks under a strict closure order, the BMA agreed to loosen restrictions and decided to reopen 5 types of venues and businesses with conditions to prevent the spread of COVID-19, but the move was quickly suspended by the CCSA late yesterday. Venues and businesses such as museums, parks, spas, tattoo studios, and wellness clinics were set to reopen today. The move to reopen the venues under limitations was intended to relieve the financial burden on businesses that have been closed for weeks, according to the BMA. We'll keep publishing all the latest restrictions around the country. It's certainly a very fluid situation. The Thai Brewers Association has delivered a petition to the CCSA and the Bangkok Metropolitan Administration asking them to reverse the ban of alcohol sales in restaurants and bars, as the ban has been harmful to their businesses and they have not been given any other options. Part of the statement reads, "The association is deeply concerned about the survival of entrepreneurs and employees involved in the severely affected alcohol business, directly and indirectly, as Bangkok has put the measure into the effect for more than 45 days. They've requested that the government ease the measure to legally sell alcohol for consumption at stores like restaurants and small bars, especially open air. The association has pleaded with the CCSA and the BMA to empathize with their plight and to consider the remedies the association proposed." 2 high-ranking police officers in Bangkok have now been arrested over the alleged involvement in the kidnap of a 60-year-old Taiwanese businessman for a $3 million ransom back in March. Police say the man was abducted in broad daylight from a restaurant in the Thonglaw district over a failed business deal over rubber gloves. The 60-year-old was assaulted and dragged away from the restaurant and caught on surveillance camera footage. Officers in uniform were seen in the video and did nothing to assist the man. Police have already arrested 2 American men as well as another Thai police officer and a Thai man. Reports say they have been released on bail. A 32 Thai-year-old man is facing charges for allegedly trafficking meth valued at $12.1 million into South Korea. The man was arrested earlier this month for allegedly smuggling around 4 kilograms of methamphetamine hidden in bags of protein supplements on a flight from Thailand to South Korea. The man was allegedly paid 200,000 baht to smuggle the drugs. 5 other Thai nationals, as well as 2 South Koreans, are facing charges for smuggling illicit drugs into the country by mail. The prosecutor's office says it's working with Incheon Main Customs and other government agencies to crack down on transnational drug trafficking. Just a month before the Olympic Games begin, a state of emergency has been extended in 9 Japanese prefectures, including Tokyo, the host city. The extended decree is in force until June the 20th. Bars, restaurants, karaoke joints, and all other venues that serve alcohol must remain closed. Restaurants that don't serve alcohol must close by 10 p.m., while supermarkets and other essential stores may remain open. Residents are also asked not to travel between prefectures if at all possible and to avoid all non-essential trips after 8 p.m. Japan is currently fighting a fourth wave of the virus, which couldn't have come at a worse time, with the country hosting the Olympic Games at the end of July, although being a scaled-down, tightly controlled version. The country is currently reporting over 4,000 daily new infections per day. Schools in Myanmar are meant to open today for the first time since the military coup, but thousands of teachers and students are defying the illegal military government's calls to return to school. 4 months have passed since the removal of the democratically elected government, and more than 800 people have been killed by security forces. A nationwide strike and civil disobedience has crippled the Burmese economy. Public school teachers have been prominent in the mass protests, joining railway workers, doctors, and civil servants rallying against the coup. And that's all for today's report. Hit that subscribe button to stay on top of the latest top stories. Thank you for watching, and Sawadee krap.
So there's been a lot of information pouring out about Thailand's reopening to travellers from the start of July. And we should warn people that there is a lot of misinformation about the July 1 reopening on the internet, but we'll ensure all our information is 100% correct at the time of publishing. We also understand that a lot of the information is incomplete and merely prompts even more questions. The situation is fluid, and we'll be working hard to provide all the latest updates about getting back to Thailand over the next few months. Now, the intention is to obviously encourage travellers who can and want to return to Thailand and easier access to the country from July the 1st. But there will also be plenty of people that don't necessarily want to travel to Phuket, but will use the Sandbox plan to enter Thailand without quarantine and then travel to their preferred location or even their home after the first 7 days when they're required to stay on the island. Hopefully, apart from encouraging people to travel back to the island of Phuket, the Sandbox will be able to reunite people with their loved ones around the country. A successful implementation of the program will also benefit all the other tourist locations around the country, which will follow in the steps of the Phuket Sandbox. So there's a lot riding on the successful implementation of this plan. Now, before I go on through all the latest details we know about the reopening, we know there'll be lots of specific questions based around your personal circumstances. We're not in the position of being able to provide individual answers for each person, but we hope this general information will at least give you a head start. The big headline about the Phuket Sandbox plan is that for approved travellers, there will be no quarantine required on arrival. Obviously, this is a game changer. Let's talk about who can come. The Thai government says that if you're coming from a low to medium risk country and if you've been fully vaccinated with documentation to prove it, you'll be allowed to travel to Phuket after July the 1st. If you're a family, you'll be able to bring your kids. For children under the age of 17, they won't have to have been vaccinated, but they'll have to undergo a rapid antigen test at the airport. If they're under 5 years old, they won't have to have a test as long as they're with their family. For your vaccinations, you'll need to have been vaccinated at least 14 days before departure, but not over 1 year. A rapid antigen or PCR test will also be needed to have been conducted within 72 hours before your flight to Thailand. You'll have to show an itinerary for your visit when you arrive, upload and activate the Thailand Plus app so the government can track your movements if they need to contact you during your stay. You'll have another test 5 days after your arrival at your costs. And after this, you'll be able to travel to some of the areas immediately adjacent to Phuket, like Bang Na Bay, the islands around Phuket, and Koh Phi Phi. And then, after 7 days in Phuket, you'll be able to leave the island and travel anywhere you like in Thailand. If you stay for less than 7 days, you'll have to depart from Phuket Airport. If you stay longer than 7 days, you'll be able to fly out of Bangkok back to your country as an option. All booked facilities on the island, hotels, tour companies, transport, will need to be certified through the Tourism Authority of Thailand and the Safety and Health Administration guidelines. This certification will indicate that the employees have been vaccinated. Thai Airways have added direct flights to Phuket from some European cities and may add some other flights from Asian destinations, but you'd be well advised to contact the Thai embassy in your country before making any bookings to ensure that citizens in your country are able to travel to Thailand as part of the Phuket Sandbox plan. You should also check to find out about returning to your country and any requirements or restrictions on that leg of your journey. Now, people should be aware as they come back to Thailand that things won't be the same as they were in the past, of course. For Phuket, certainly the beaches have never looked better. There's still plenty of shopping and things to do around the island, but the nightlife won't be quite as vibrant and the huge selection of restaurants won't be quite as long as before. The same situation will be the same in most other tourist destinations around Thailand as the wheels of tourism slowly ramp up to meet demand, but this will be the situation anywhere in the world. The Thaiger will continue to provide all the latest information about this important first step in Thailand's reopening plans for general tourism as the information becomes available.